Hello everybody, welcome back to Bree's Toys. My name is Stephanie Bree, and today we're just going to chit chat. We're just going to talk about G.I. Joe, a real American hero. We're not talking about the dolls from the 60s. We're not talking about G.I. Joe Extreme or anything that come later. We're not talking about, the modern stuff. I don't even know what's what. We're just talking about the 1982 and on, a real American hero. The 3 3/4 inch line. And the related comics and cartoons. And of course, G.I. Joe the movie, the animated movie. I have a very complicated history with G.I. Joe and very mixed feelings on the toy line. So let's talk about my complicated history with it first. I am transgender. When I was a kid, I was raised as a boy, but I identified as a female, and my parents would not let me present as a female. Even though I had 3 sisters and they all had girls' toys that I wanted to play with, I was stuck playing with boys' toys. So my parents bought me boys' toys. Transformers, G.I. Joes, He-Man, Ninja Turtles, etc. Now, I like robots. I like computers. I like sciencey stuff, technology, electronics, gadgets, things of that sort, video games, things of that sort. So Transformers did appeal to me. I also like mutants and monsters and fantasy and fairy tales and goblins and demons and skeletons and stuff like that. Horror, fantasy and things like that, swords and sorcery. So He-Man had limited appeal to me, and Ninja Turtles I thought was pretty fucking cool. But then there's G.I. Joe. I think cops are boring. The TV show Cops, capital C period, capital O period, capital P period, capital S period. Cops, the TV show. Didn't like it, never owned any of the toys, have no interest in it. That stupid comedy show, what's it called? Police Academy. No fucking interest in it. Cops bore me. Soldiers they're just fucking cops. They're just as boring as cops. They're assholes with guns. Doesn't interest me at all. I'm not interested in guns. I do not like guns. I am very anti-gun. I've already done videos on my other channel about how anti-gun I am. I'm very anti-military. I've already done videos on my other channel on how anti-military I am. So as a toy line, G.I. Joe doesn't interest me all that much because it is soldiers fighting terrorists. And excuse me. Holy shit. So that aspect of the toy doesn't interest me. But I do like 3 3/4 inch action figures. And G.I. Joes as action figures are pretty fucking cool. The toys are actually pretty fucking cool. They really are. G.I. Joe, a real American hero, as a toy line, also has the benefit of coming with vehicles. Vehicles were sold separately, and sometimes the vehicle came with a driver. Sometimes the driver was sold separately. They also had play sets, but that's another video for another day. I do not own any G.I. Joe vehicles or play sets. I do own some vehicles from other toy lines and play sets from other toy lines. I've already showed off a couple. I'll show off some more. I have others. I do have the Turtle Lair. I will show that off in a video one of these days. I have the Koopa Castle. I will show that off in one of these days. I have other play sets and vehicles. I have more Ninja Turtles and Star Wars vehicles and play sets than anything, but that's neither here nor there. But G.I. Joe's got some pretty interesting vehicles. A real American hero is not your Call of Duty soldiers. Man on the ground fighting against terrorists over in the Middle East. G.I. Joe, a real American hero, is sci-fi. And I do like sci-fi. So it's actually soldiers with cybernetic enhancements, futuristic weapons, sci-fi spaceships and vehicles fighting against terrorists who have an army of robots and other bad guys. And some mutants and snakes and other things. So it has limited, like I said, limited appeal to me. I do think some of the G.I. Joe vehicles are pretty cool. I do think some of the G.I. Joe playsets are pretty cool. So, there, I want to put that out there. As a toy line, I do like a real American Hero. Not enough to be a full-on collector. So, here's what I want from my G.I. Joe collection. I want 24 action figures, and I want 4 vehicles. Okay? And maybe 2 playsets. Maybe on the playsets. Maybe. That's a big maybe. I used to have one of the G.I. Joe bases. I don't remember which one. I used to have it a long time ago. I gave it to my nephews. They lost all the pieces, and then it disappeared to time. Sue me. So, 12 figures. 12 Cobras. I want 12 Cobra soldiers, or figures. I want mostly the named Cobras. So I want Baroness. I want Destro. I want Zartan. I want Dr. Mindbender and Cobra Commander and Serpentor. You know, the big ones. I want 12 of the big ones. The main characters. Same from the Joes. So we're talking Duke, Hawk, Lady J, Scarlet, you know, Shipwreck, etc. You know, Snake Eyes, etc. But I only want 12 of each. Once I have that, I'm done. That's it. Once I have that, I'm done. Vehicles. I want 2 vehicles for each. I want 2 Joe vehicles, 2 Cobra vehicles. I want a ground-based vehicle for each and an air-based vehicle for each. And that's it. That's going to be my entire A Real American Hero collection. I have not decided which vehicles I'm going to get. I do not have a list of the 12 Joes I'm going to get. I have an idea in my head which ones I want. It's going to depend on the fucking money, because I'm not paying $75 for a Serpentor. That's never going to fucking happen. So there is that. I'm also not looking for complete figures with all the little pieces. I just want the soldier, the figure. The base figure. I don't care for the guns, the vehicle, the vehicles they came with, or chariots or whatever, accessories. Those things get lost anyways. I don't care. I just want the figures. Let's talk about the media. G.I. Joe comic books. G.I. Joe had some tie-ins with Transformers. I have read the entirety of Transformers Generation 1 comics. I have a collection of post-G1 comics, mostly in trade paperback and graphic novel collected forms. And a variation, a mixture of some G1 reprint or stories, collected editions, but also modern stuff from IDW and Dreamwave and other comic book publishers. So it's not all Marvel. I do not own any G.I. Joe comics. I have never read a G.I. Joe comic in my life, and I will never buy a G.I. Joe comic. I have no interest in them. None at all. None whatsoever. I have read the miniseries, Transformers vs. G.I. Joe. I read the entire miniseries. If it exists in trade paperback form, I will try to get a copy of that down the road someday. And I plan on getting the 6 issues of Transformers Generation 2, which kind of sort of ties into G.I. Joe, kind of sort of just a little bit. And that's it. That's the extent of my knowledge of G.I. Joe comics. I have no interest in them, and I will not buy them, collect them, or read them. A Real American Hero, the cartoon. Now this one's kind of iffy because it actually exists in 2 forms. It was originally produced by Marvel Sunbow Productions for 2 seasons. Then Marvel Sunbow did the movie, G.I. Joe the movie, in 1986. And then they somehow, I don't know if they lost the rights or forfeited the rights or whatever, but the rights transferred to DiC. So there's the Sunbow G.I. Joe cartoon, and then there's the DiC G.I. Joe cartoon. I do not like the Sunbow G.I. Joe cartoon. None of it. None of the episodes. None of it. Just fuck off. The only G.I. Joe cartoon episodes I did watch when I was a kid that I did enjoy when I was a kid were the DiC episodes. So for me, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, is represented by the DiC cartoons, not the Sunbow cartoons. With one humongous exception. The 1986 movie. Is it 86? 87. I don't know what year it came out. G.I. Joe the movie. The one with Sergeant Slaughter and Serpentor and Cobra Law. This is pure sci-fi. This is pure sci-fi. G.I. Joe, always, A Real American Hero, always had sci-fi elements to it. But the movie on, so starting with the movie and then the DiC show that came after the movie, that's pure sci-fi. The first two seasons, the Sunbow seasons of G.I. Joe, were mostly military with a little bit of sci-fi in it. Not enough to hold my interest. Not enough to hold my interest. I watched them all when I was a kid because it was what was on. I didn't like it. I didn't get into it. I didn't give a shit. I don't fucking care. Bores me to tears as an adult. I will not revisit it. But I do have the movie on DVD, and it's enjoyable. I watch it. I like it from time to time. It's fun. And I have revisited some of the DiC episodes on Tubi from time to time, just to reminisce. They're fun-ish. I say ish because, it's not great, but it's, better than the Sunbow, G.I. Joe. So that's where I stand on G.I. Joe as a property, A Real American Hero as a property. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Stay cool.